Hello friends, welcome to the channel. Bob here, and welcome to another video. It's going to be a bit of a different video today. I'm playing some New World, but this is just a pretty shot for you to look at while we talk about a topic that I've got for you today. It's quite interesting. It's it's not really about the Project Gorgon video I did yesterday, but kind of related to it. I think first of all, you kind of think you get to a point where you feel that surely you shouldn't need to do these kind of things anymore, particularly when people say things like I've always liked your videos. That's a good way of that's always the same way people start a message when something's gonna kick off. But yeah, you think you wouldn't need to say these things anymore, but a disclaimer is that this video is just observations and opinions about stuff that happens on a YouTube channel. That's all it is. If you want to take it for whining or ranting, then that's entirely up to you, but that's certainly not the idea. But anyway, yes, I did a video yesterday about Project Gorgon, just talking about why I'd kind of stopped playing it and just pointing out some of the things that stopped me from playing it. To me, it just felt like an observation video, just giving opinions basically about a game. Project Gorgon is a game that I've always really liked and been really positive about, and I think it's probably the first time I've ever done a negative video on it. But yesterday, I got a comment. Obviously it starts off with a comment. You haven't got my phone number, so someone left a comment. I can't get to the whole conversation now because I think what seems to have happened is this person typed their last message, got the last word in, and then deleted the whole conversation or whatever. Because I can't access it. I can only access some of the start of the messages on one of my pull down menus. And something else out about YouTube, everything, it's got to a point where kind of everything's always on the content creator. And I've talked about this before, and it's not a complaint, not moaning, just an observation. But everything is always kind of seems to be on the creator. I've gone through all of my menus into my YouTube studio and stuff, and I can't find the conversation. So this person was allowed to come onto my channel, post up some rubbish, and not abusive in a sense that in that sense, but loads of rubbish, and then is able to. I'm assuming that they've deleted it because YouTube wouldn't have deleted it. Why would they delete one of my videos? I'm the smallest of small creators, right? So one of my comments, so unless someone's reported it for some strange reason, this person must have typed the last message, which I didn't actually read all of, so yeah, not particularly smart thing to do, and then deleted the conversation because I can't now see it apart from parts of what they wrote. So yeah, I'll try and give you. This is something that sometimes content creators have to deal with, and the weird thing is it always goes in the same. The messages always go in the same fashion. And it always goes, I guess it kind of makes sense really, but it always goes in that, you'll see as I go through the conversation, the bits I can read and stuff I can remember, but it always kind of goes in that, what should we call it, that kind of like Twitter, social media type conversation. So first of all, someone will say something to you that's not particularly, it's not horrible, but it's rubbish, not particularly nice, it's rubbish, and so, and how these as I said, these conversations always go in a particular order and format. So whenever I come across them, the last half dozen I can remember when I've had them, I don't get them often, but when I do get them, it always starts off, I've always liked your videos, or I've always liked your channel, but so they always start off like that. It's really weird, and I'm assuming we'll call this person Mr. Hedberg. But that's we'll call them that, and I'm assuming it's not the same person every time. Okay, it can't be the same person every time. So I'm just assuming that for some reason these people always start them off that way because it's almost like, oh, I've always been a fan of you, but I've always been a fan of your videos, but a fan of your vids, Bob. But your recent videos are just whining and complaining because you either haven't put in the necessary time, which was a strange thing to say, or I haven't made the proper effort to get what you want, essentially, which is a strange thing to say because I put in tons of time in the games that I play. And if they actually always like the videos as they say they do, I would imagine that they would probably have seen that. And then there's a bit I can't see, but what I can remember, it compares me to his children whining, essentially. So it always starts off the same. These comments generally, I've always liked your stuff, but, and then you kind of get the stuff underneath. So I kind of responded back and said, well, I've gone back and listened to the video again, because before I comment, that's probably the right thing to do. So I went back and listened to the video, and I said, I don't really understand what you're talking about. I'm paraphrasing because I can't see my own comments. It's really annoying. But I said, I don't understand what you're talking about. It was giving opinions on something. I wasn't ranting or whining. I mean, just to expand on that, if you want to see ranting, then you really need to go on YouTube and look at some other channels, because that's all that these channels do. So I said, I'm sorry, but I didn't say I'm sorry. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't a rant video. It was just an opinion, blah, 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 blah. They then come back and said, I'm not talking about this video particularly, specifically, but you rant about all games you play in this same manner. Which again, if this was someone who had always watched the videos, would be, would realise that wasn't the case. Or maybe they do realise it. We're getting to the interesting part now. And so next he says, adversity to me, I had a great time in early Project Gorgon levelling, which I did. And I'm still playing the game, so I must still be really enjoying it. So now we get to the crux of it. You see, it's not really about anything I said up until now, but the crux of it is the fact that I said something about a game that he's white knighting about, right? So he was really triggered enough to get into a conversation, a YouTube spat with me, because I said something negative about a game that he's really liking. That's the crux of it, essentially. And that's generally how all these things go. People will kind of try and, I'm not sure what the terms are, people will try and blindside you by starting off with, I've always liked your videos, and it's not just about this video. So that's the crux of it. That's essentially what caused this conversation. Apart from the fact that I've been incredibly positive about Project Gorgon in the past, and I actually still really love the game, but I just think that, I feel the same, as I said in the video. I feel the same about Project Gorgon as I feel about other games. I feel that I think it's the reason I talk about them is because I want them to succeed, and I don't think they've been going for some years now. So okay, they've got a market and they've got their steady player base, but I just feel that at some point, these developers got to think to themselves, whether it's in 4 years or 6 years or 10 years, whatever it is, we've got to move forwards. Things have got to change. We're not getting enough new players in and stuff. And that's the only reason I bring these things up, because I want them to succeed. And I want new players to come in and to bring in fresh money. But even so, if there's something that's wrong, or something that just in my personal opinion, I think is wrong, you've got to point it out. But that was the crux of the matter, was the fact that I'd basically did a negative video about Project Gorgon, and they didn't like that. But the interesting part here, and I did go, see, the thing is I can do research because it's my channel. So if you notice I'm not talking about this video, you rant about all games you play in this same manner. Okay, so I actually went back and looked at the last year's videos that I put up. There was a lot of TAC P ones, which I haven't ranted about. Some Mortal Online 2 videos, which I don't think, I mean, the thing is, in these videos I might point out things I don't like, but if you call that ranting, then you really are the definition of a snowflake. Not just a snowflake, but a snowflake lying on the ground as the weather's it's becoming milder and you're melting. If you listen to a half an hour video about TAC P and you pick out a couple of things I say that I don't like about it, then that's your problem. You've got a real problem there if you think that's ranting or whining. So I actually went back and looked at the last year's videos, and the only video I could find where I would say that, as I said, like TAC P, recently did a video on Asheron's Call, which I really liked. Mortal Online 2, which I really liked. I played, did a few streams of Fallout 76, which is a game that is much maligned, but I like it. There's a few games that I played that are much maligned, but I still like them and play them. And some other games as well. I did a bit of Pathfinder. I even played Pathfinder Online and said I quite liked it. I think it was only the combat that I was a bit thingy about. So yeah, I actually went back and looked at my video history just for reference. And the only video I could find, there was the one I did recently. It was a Channel Burp one about talking about. it was about, yeah, it was about how I was becoming, how the channel was starting to make me feel bitter, and how I wasn't enjoying it. And I think I mean, and it's not, some people, I think, as I say, some people, this person, looking at what they said, this person kind of took that as, I was fed up with the channel because people weren't helping me and stuff. And yeah, and I admit that that's probably, yeah, that's part, I said in the video, it's partly how I was feeling. But I wasn't feeling like that really because people weren't helping me. I was feeling like that because the channel, it just reached a point where it's feeling a bit like work, and I didn't feel like I was getting anything from that. And what's wrong with that? I'm sure Mr. Hedberg doesn't go to work for nothing, so yeah, but that was the only video I could find. Pretty much all the other videos, there might have been another channel burp, one or two, but out of all the videos I've done in the last year, most of them were games that I play that I like. See, and that's the whole thing. That's what didn't really make sense, because I only play games that I like. Why would you play games that you didn't like? I think the only other game I could find where I'd said stuff about that that was probably negative was just some of the mechanics in Worm Online. I think was the only game where I really and even people who play Worm Online a lot, and it's their game, on the video, said, yeah, I kind of see what you're talking about, so then I kind of went back and said, look, I've just looked back through the last year of my videos, and I'm struggling to find any there where I'm not even playing games that I don't like. It's not like I purposely play games that I don't like. So I'm just going to ruin the scene for you a second, because the game does have like a thing where where it will kick you out of the game if you're standing still for too long. But let me just yeah, so I've got the last two comments that they put up. Yeah, so I've just slightly lost my train of thought. what I was talking about. But anyway, yeah, as I said, I looked back at the previous videos, and yeah, I was struggling to find anywhere, because what's the point? I mean, my time is quite limited, so why would I play games that I don't like just so I can rant about them? It didn't make any sense. I actually looked back and a bit further than that, and there was some Daggerfall videos which I loved and stuff. So pretty much every game video that I'd done, I loved the game that I was playing, but there might have been one or two things in there that I'd kind of moaned about. And so I brought that up to them and said that, I think that I've looked back on the videos, and you need to point them out, because I'm struggling to see anything that I did actually say to them, because the next comment is another classic as well. I did actually say to them that I think that in my previous response, when I said, I'm not quite sure where the ranting and stuff is coming from and whatnot, bearing in mind he's called me a child and a whiner and stuff, so I could have been a lot stronger than I was. I said to him, I think that you're probably just cross because I did a negative video about Project Gorgon. And then his next reply was, this comment basically sums up what I was saying: you've turned bitter. Yeah, so this is the next step in this kind of like the phase of the way these conversations always go. He's now making out that he's the victim. So he's come onto my channel. He's taken the time. I mean, I never do this, honestly. Like I never go onto someone's channel as a content creator, because you know what it's like, and leave these and call them childish or whining because they don't like something that I happen to like. You've got to be a child to do that, haven't you? I mean, let's be honest. But yeah, so what happens here? They try and turn it on their head. I'm not sure if it's called gaslighting or not. I'm not familiar with these newfangled terms. I'm not down with the kids on the new terms, but what he's trying to do here is then turn it around so that he's the victim. So I'm being the aggressor. So my comment has offended him. The comment you've made basically sums up what I mean. You've just turned bitter. So this is another step on how these conversations always go. The person, you come back to the people with something logical, and then they play the victim. They want to be the victim. So I said that I'd look for more videos, and I'm really struggling here. You need to help me out. And the last comment, well, the comment he made was the most egregious. This was the last comment he made, I'm assuming, before he deleted the chat or conversation or whatever. But he said the most egregious one. I love the word egregious. It's a great word, but it's a strange word to use as well. at this point, I mean, further down, I realised that he was just salty because I'd done a negative video about Project Gorgon, but this one means he's just taking it far too seriously. You know, the most egregious was your rant about P99 streamers a few vids ago, and about how nobody would help you. But you hop in other streams and people are donating this and helping with that. Unfortunately, I can't read what's said under that because he must have deleted the conversation. And I honestly didn't delete it. I was left it there until I could read it, you know, until I could look at it in the morning for the purposes of this video, because I thought it was an interesting topic. Yeah, so I can't read anything past that. But the other thing I thought is that what happens is someone kind of takes a disliking to something you say in a video, but they don't say anything immediately. So what I've noticed is what can happen is that sometimes you'll just, like, for sometimes I go through periods where I get you can't see dislikes. Now, I think I probably can, but generally you can't. But I would do a video and I just get one dislike every video, and it was clear it was the same person doing it. I think what also happens is you say something and people like bottle it up, and then it kind of comes out a bit later on. Like, I remember when I was talking about some people talking about someone was trying to insinuate that I was saying that vitamin C was the best thing since Jesus, you know, which was ridiculous. It wasn't the case. And it's funny because they obviously bottled that up, that comment, like their saltiness, their salty tears they'd got in a bottle and they'd kept it, and then they brought it up in a comment ages later that had no relevance to that. You know, it was really weird. And I'm not sure if this is also another case of that where maybe this person, Mr. Hedberg, kind of found what I said in the Channel Burt video about how I was feeling about the channel. Maybe he found something in there that he didn't like, and he's been bottling up this anger, you know, to let out at some point. But it's funny because as I said, these videos always go the same way. Whenever someone says, I really like your stuff, but then you know how it's going to go. You can generally tell how it's going to go. And from the way the first video the comment was written, I knew that he was salty about how I'd spoken about the game that he likes playing. But it wasn't until the second comment that kind of obviously came out. And I actually went back and listened to that P99, like the Channel Burt video I did about how I was feeling about the thing. And the weird thing is, he's like, he's using the word bitter, but he's obviously taking it from that video because that's how I said I was feeling. You know, again, it's really weird. It's like people either don't think about what they're writing, or they get so angry about something that they just lose all common sense, or maybe they haven't got any common sense to start with. But in the video, I actually said I was feeling bitter towards the channel. So then saying you're turning bitter is weird, because I've already said that myself, and that's where they must have got the word from, you know, because he then referenced back to that video. But it was interesting because, like, in that video, I talked about how I was feeling. I talked about all these things that may be contributing to it, and I even said in the video that a lot of it was probably just down to me and just down to how I was feeling about creating content and all that kind of stuff. But people generally kind of skip over that sort of thing. And in the Project Gorgon video yesterday, I even said in the video, you know, that the game's still unique. I still like the game, you know, and some of these things could just be down to the fact that I've reached a point where I just don't want to put the time in to do it and all that kind of stuff. But people what happens is people don't hear those things. You know, it's like when someone reads a Twitter tweet and they go mental. You know, they'll pick out, they'll pick out just part of it, but they take it completely out of context. I think that's what happens on the internet at the moment, isn't it? Where people just don't take there's no context. People will just pick out a bit, but ignore the context around it, and just pick on that. The other thing that he did as well was that what they'll also do is put words into your mouth to make it to try and back up their quite weak point or weak argument. So in the second comment, he was talking about, I say Mr. Hedberg. It's a kind of sounds like a male first name. So in the second video, he tried to suggest that I said something that I didn't. You know, he said adversely to me not enjoying the early leveling process like they did, but I'd never said that I didn't enjoy the early leveling process. I did enjoy it greatly, but that was years ago when I first started the game. This is the context is that this is many years later from that point. But so I just wanted to talk about that. I mentioned it in the Channel Burp video, I think, about how the last one, about how some of the things that kind of go on that maybe you other viewers that watch channel don't see or realise happens when you create content and stuff. Yeah, but I just thought it was and they all I enjoy these things. I enjoy these comments because I was talking to my wife about it this morning, and I said to her, like, having a YouTube channel sometimes is about, we've all must have done this, like sitting outside a cafe with a cup of tea or coffee or whatever and a croissant, and you watch people walking by, and we don't do it so much now, but in the summer, like, we used to do it, and you try and pick out what those people are going to do, what the jobs they do, you see how they behave and stuff. And YouTube channel is a perfect example of that, in a digital form. I enjoy these conversations. I enjoy, particularly when they're a bit like this, because you get to see the psychology of how people think, and also it's interesting. You get to see how much of like a hive mind there is, how people all think the same, and they all start off their initial comments the same, and at some point in the videos, you'll suss out what they're really cross about, and they'll try and put words in your mouth to enforce their kind of generally weak point. And then when you point out to them, look, you need to help me here, you need to let me know what I've done wrong and point it out to me, that they then play the victim, and what I had this before, actually. I think it was when someone was talking about how down I am on talking about PvP players, which I thought, like before, I think it was Mortal Online 2 video, and before that I couldn't even remember talking about them much, really. And again, this was another thing where people can't just say, see, the way that this conversation could have gone, and it would have been constructive, is said, look, I've watched your chat videos for quite some time, but I've noticed recently that you sound a bit down about the channel and the games you're playing and that kind of thing, like, what's going on. You need to talk to someone, I'm here if you want to talk about it, all that kind of stuff. And then we could have got into a more constructive conversation, but that just wasn't obviously what they were looking for. They were just angry that I had insulted a game that they were playing. That was pretty much it. But what another thing that you'll generally find is that they go overboard with their accusation as to what you're doing. So rather than just saying, look, I've noticed on a couple of videos that you're sounding a bit ranty and a bit bitter about things. They'll say things like, all the game, like this person said, all the games you play, you talk about in this way, and I can go back and factually prove that by looking back at my video history, which I did, and then kind of pointing it out to them. Unless you're taking like bitter and ranty about every game I play, by picking out the kind of like the odd negative that I might have, then yeah. But I mean, most of the videos done recently, like the Ashran's Call one was very positive. All the TAC-P stuff has generally been very positive, apart from picking out some like little mechanics and stuff that I don't like. Mortal Online 2, as I said, and it just goes on and on. Like, I really enjoyed those games. Yeah, but this was just I thought you might find it interesting just listening to some of the stuff that happens, and how, I'm not sure if you've noticed it on your videos, if you ever get these kind of interactions going on. But you'll notice that if it's anything like mine, they always go in a similar format. You've got the always liked your content, and then you're going to get the excessive accusations about, and you get a bit of name calling about what you're doing. You then point out to them, I think you're mistaken, can you be a bit more specific? Then you get then you generally find out what they're really angry about, which is generally you saying something negative about a game. Then you get the victimization thing. I'm the victim here, and then it ends with them deleting the conversation. It seems, because I can't access it, because I guess their argument was just weak. I mean, he pointed out one video I can't see what was written after that, but he's looked at all the videos I've done over the last year and pointed out that particular video. And in that particular video, he's just using words against me that I'd already used myself, about myself, you know, so it's like, yeah, not very smart. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.